Hello everyone, I am Mr. Ishitu Tasfaye, your biology teacher. This is grade 11 biology, week 17. The lesson for this week is chapter 34, lesson 4, fertilization and development, part 2. Your textbook page 999 to 1001. Objectives of the lesson. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify the major events of later stages of development of the fetus and describe the set of factors that trigger childbirth. Let's get started. Later stages of development of human fetus. What important events occur during the later stage of human development? During the fourth, fifth, and sixth months after fertilization, we also call it the second trimester, the tissues of the fetus become more complex and specialized and begin to function. During the last 3 months before birth, meaning the 7th, 8th, and 9th months, or also called the third trimester, the organ systems of the fetus mature and the fetus grows in size and mass. Let's discuss the main events that takes place during the second trimester, months 4 to 6. During this stage of fetal development, the fetal heart becomes large enough so that it can be heard with a stethoscope. Bone continues to replace the cartilage that forms the early skeleton by the process known as ossification. A layer of soft hair grows over the skin of the fetus. The mother begins to feel the fetus moving. Now to the last trimester, which is 7 to 9 months. What are the events that takes place during this last stage of fetus development? The fetus doubles in mass, and the lungs and other organs undergo a series of changes that prepare them for life outside the uterus. The fetus is now able to regulate its body temperature, thermoregulation. On average, it takes 9 months for a fetus to develop fully. Babies born before 8 months of development are called premature babies and often have severe breathing problems because of incomplete lung development. And finally, the central nervous system and lungs complete their development during this stage of fetus development. Childbirth. A complex set of factors triggers the birth process. One of these factors is the release of the hormone oxytocin from the mother's posterior pituitary gland. Oxytocin affects a group of large involuntary muscles in the uterine wall. As these muscles are stimulated, they begin a series of rhythmic contractions known as labor. As labor progresses, the contractions become more frequent and more powerful. These contractions expand the opening of the uterus, which is the cervix, until it is large enough for the head of the baby to pass through. As you can see in this diagram, this is the front view and this is the side view. You can see the mouth of the uterus here, the cervix. The mouth of the uterus for the front view here is the cervix, and for the side view right here, this expands to the size which is large enough to pass the head of the baby through. At some point, the amniotic sac breaks and the fluid it contains rushes out of the vagina. Contractions of the uterus forces the baby, usually head first, which this condition is called cephalic position, when the head first or head down, okay, it is called cephalic position, and this forces the baby out of the vagina. As the baby meets the outside world, he or she may begin to cough or cry, a process that rids the lungs of fluid. Breathing starts almost immediately, and the blood supply to the placenta begins to dry up. The umbilical cord is clamped out and cut, leaving a small piece attached to the baby that will soon dry and fall off, leaving a scar known as the navel, or its more familiar term, the belly button. In a final series of uterine contractions, the placenta and the empty amniotic sac are expelled from the uterus as the afterbirth. Within a few hours after birth, the pituitary hormone prolactin stimulates the production of milk in the mother's breasts. The nutrients present in the milk contain everything the baby needs for growth and development during the first few months of life. Finally, let's look at infant and maternal health. As you know, the placenta acts as a barrier to many harmful or disease-causing agents or pathogens. However, some pathogens do pass through this barrier and affect the health of the embryo. For example, the virus that causes AIDS can infect the developing fetus, and the virus that is responsible for rubella or German measles can cause birth defects. Alcohol can permanently injure the nervous system, and drugs such as heroin and cocaine used by the mother can cause drug addiction in newborn babies. Smoking during pregnancy can double the risk of low weight at birth, leading to other severe health problems. From 1970 to 2000, the infant mortality rate in the United States decreased by about 65%. Many factors contributed to this decrease, among which improved public health services and wise use of medications can be cited. For example, in 1993, the United States Public Health Service recommended that women must consume 4 milligrams of folic acid or vitamin B9 per day. Between 1996 and 1998, manufacturers of enriched grain products began to add folic acid to their products, which decreased the incidence of spina bifida. As you know, last week we discussed spina bifida as the incomplete development of neural tube during pregnancy. As you can see in this chart, okay, you have the y-axis, which shows the rate per 100,000 of live births, and the the x-axis, the number of the years from 1992 all the way to 2004. And this chart shows the incidence of spina bifida rates between the indicated time. Between 1992 to 1995 or 1996, it was somehow increasing. This case, spina bifida rate was increasing. But because of the intervention of the United States Public Health Service in increasing or advising pregnant women to use the right amount of folic acid, the incidence of spina bifida rates start to decrease from 1996 to 1998, and then somehow flattens after that. Right. That's all from me for today. Thank you very much for watching.